Welcome to the Age Hack Podcast, a longevity lifestyle podcast. And as always, I'm here with the lovely Fiona.
A pleasure.
So be sure to check out the Age Hack online. You can find us on IG at the agehack_pod, or send us a DM if you're a longevity lover with any ideas, or if you just love the podcast. Now, today we've got a really exciting episode. We're going to talk about a new blue zone, as well as a new, funny name, supplement ingredient, Spermidine.
Can't wait.
Funny name, great ingredient.
Let's get started. So we were at a wellness expo during the week.
Yes, It was always a long day. Expo's always a long day.
Mega day. I think our voices have finally recovered. But I wanted to talk to you because obviously it was an industry expo. We chatted to pharmacists, naturopaths, health food store owners, all sorts of people. And you just get, at these expos, you just get so many different perspectives and so many different ideas. And, you really hear the wild and wonderful of what's going on in health. And I wanted to know, who was your favorite interaction specifically about longevity?
Wow. Okay. That's a big question that I haven't even thought of or prepared for. I'm just trying to cast my mind back to it because we did speak to so many people. There was two ladies that coming to mind. They had just sort of broached on the longevity space with NMN is what they knew about.
Yeah.
They saw the Age Hack range and they just loved it. They loved the design. They couldn't stop talking about how amazing it looked. But talking to them about the hero product from the Age Hack, which is Live, that contains everything that you need for longevity.
Yeah.
You could just see that they were just enraptured. They loved it. And they were like, we want to buy one now. And we had to say, look, we can't sell you one now. We're just here for display. But yeah, they really come to mind, and it was their interest in the complete package and how they understood the science behind it quite quickly. So, I was explaining the science, they got it straight away, and that really enthused me, and I enjoyed that. I do
love that about the industry expos. They're just so onto the ingredients and you're just really talking to your peers, which is amazing. What was their background?
They were one was a nutritionist, another one was a pharmacist. They worked both in a pharmacy up north, but they had some sort of pracky products. So they were one of those pharmacies
Symbiotic
that also look at holistic health.
Oh, I love that. I love a pharmacy like that. All walks of life. You've got nutritionists, you've got pharmacists, and I was really excited to talk to a few traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. So I spoke to a really lovely girl called Evie, and she was telling me all about beauty acupuncture.
That's right. I remember that.
Have you heard of that before the expo?
It's not really coming to mind. I might have heard of it in passing, but I didn't retain it.
Yeah, well, I'm super keen to book in for a session. So basically they do facial acupuncture, and I think they do a bit with the body as well, because they say if they were to do all sort of 40 to 70 needles just in the face, it might kind of overwhelm a little bit. So they've got to release different parts of the body and then they go into the face as well.
Wait, so just the face, you'll have 40 to 70 needles into it.
Yeah, I looked at some photos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and so not only that, they need to balance it out with more needles in the body.
Yeah, maybe it's 40 to 70 in total.
That's still a lot of needles.
It is, but I thought it was really cool because they're saying it's bringing blood flow and oxygen to the face, which obviously will be really good for cell turnover, and collagen stimulation as well, and releasing kind of tension through the jaw, which I get a lot of. I'm a bit of a teeth grinder. And so, I was really keen to try it. And then I was doing a bit more research, and I found out that they did a study actually on facial contouring acupuncture. I think it's FCA or something like that. And they were saying that after 5 sessions, there was a significant reduction in fine lines and wrinkles and improvement in elasticity.
Well, I think you just got a lot of our listeners' attention right then.
Yeah. So I think Evie's going to be purchasing some of the Age Hack products for her studio. But I think I'll be visiting her for some sessions as well.
Maybe you can do some swapsies.
Yeah. And Gwyneth Paltrow does it, so I'm sold.
There you go. That's all you needed to
Job
hear.
done.
Well, what I think I'll do is I'll see how it works for you. Literally a pin cushion, test dummy, and then if it works, then maybe I'll jump on board as well.
I will report back.
All right. Stay tuned, listeners. We'll talk about this one later on a future episode, I'm sure.
So, Paul, let's jump into our Blue Zone tip of the week.
Always excited about this segment.
Yeah, and it's actually coming from a new Blue Zone. Do you know that there is a new Blue Zone?
As in just recently been uncovered?
Number 6. Dan,
Okay.
Yeah, so the original creator of the Blue Zones, the guy that wrote the book on Blue Zones, literally.
And he wrote them on 5.
Yeah, he wrote
and
them
now
on
he's found a
5.
6th.
So he speaks about Dan Buettner is his name, and he speaks about Blue Zone 2.0, Singapore.
Wow. Okay. Now that is a surprise. I didn't know that. And now is that officially a Blue Zone?
Well, in his words, yeah, he's calling it Blue Zone 2.0.
There you go. All right. Let's chat about this.
Yeah, and I mean, we love Singapore.
Yeah, we do.
So
nice and close to Australia. Great food.
Oh, the food.
So much to do.
But the safety, the lifestyle, it's a beautiful place to visit, and I'm sure it's a wonderful place to live. So the wisdom of the week that I want to take from Singapore as Blue Zone 2.0 is about their communities. I will just say their average lifespan is 83.44, because I know you always like to know the numbers.
Right. Do you have the male-female split?
No, I don't have male-female split this week,
Okay.
but 83.44. And I think the concept that I'd like to talk about from Singapore is the multi-generational living.
And yes, I've heard about this, and I think the planning from the government and the incentives are amazing. So
Yeah.
super excited to talk about it, and we will in a second. I just want to mention though,
Yep.
Usually you'd associate blue zones with people that aren't in a city, that are maybe in a community but on a coastline or on farmland. But not in a city with lots of cars, possibly some pollution, and fast-paced.
Yeah.
But so this is so exciting. This is blowing my mind.
My thoughts exactly. That's super exciting for me too, because I think it's the first example that we've seen of a manufactured blue zone.
Yeah.
Everything else with the blue zones that Dan originally, spoke about, like you said, they're like naturally occurring, peaceful little areas,
Little village. Yeah.
And so, through the Singaporean lifestyle and, certain government incentives in terms of like multi-generational living, they've actually manufactured an environment where people can live healthy lives for longer.
Okay, so let's talk about it. What have we got?
Yeah, so do you want to explain sort of multi-generational living? It's fairly self-explanatory for the listener.
So for what I know, and especially with Singapore, they have incentives to live close or with the parents and the grandparents.
Yeah.
So is it true that they get paid or get a tax break if they're within a kilometre of their parents? Is that right?
Exactly. So Singaporeans get a tax break if their ageing parents live with or near them.
Yeah, there you go. Amazing. So instead of saying, which, unfortunately a lot of the Western world's their viewpoint is, hey, if you're old, you don't have value to add to society, which is terrible.
Yeah.
They ship them off nursing homes, maybe don't live close, don't have much to do with them. They're keeping them close.
Yeah.
They're giving them purpose, maybe they're the babysitters for the grandkids, etc.
Yeah.
And that multi-generational surrounding gives them that community where they have purpose. They stick around.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's my thoughts too. I think it's multifaceted. I think that the younger people, sort of our age, we can take a lot of wisdom from, our parents and our grandparents. We can learn a lot about how to live life and what to stress about, what not to stress about, et cetera, et cetera. But like you said just then was, the older generation, I think one of the things that's reflected in so many blue zones is having a really strong purpose, having a reason for living. And I think that, when you're surrounded by family and people that love you, that, what better purpose is that?
So overriding perhaps, the city living, the pollution, the fast pace, you know, maybe not necessarily a relaxing environment that you would see on a coast or a village, but that purpose and that community around family overrides that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I've got a quote here.
So does chicken and rice.
So chicken and rice.
We don't have clinical data on that. Just saying. But I love their chicken and rice.
Amazing longevity tool.
Yeah.
And so Dan Buettner, the creator of the Blue Zones, had a really nice quote here about Singapore in particular and their multi-generational living. So he said, aging parents are a wonderful source of resilience, of wisdom, of agricultural and culinary knowledge that we just warehouse in retirement homes. Here in Singapore, partially because of some smart policy to encourage it, that wisdom, resilience and learnings are harnessed every day.
And I think, you know, initially I've just thought, you know, it'll encourage the elderly to live longer, but it'll work the other way. You know, if they can impart their knowledge and their wisdom, then their children should have better practices to then go on and live longer as well. So I think it's a double-edged positive sword there.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing that's sort of reflective of this is of the other Blue Zones as well is that concept of community and social connection that we've spoken about before and how important that is and, you know, how helpful that is in regulating stress hormones and that kind of thing for longevity. So
there you go. So if you're listening to this, guys, go give your parents a call, go visit, spend some time with them. And if you're so dedicated, go live closer to them. You won't get a tax break from the Australian government, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah. But I think, you know, I'm just so excited for Singapore. How amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Let's go there.
Again.
All right, Fee. So last episode, we chatted about longevity heavy hitter Brian Johnson. I think this week we should chat about Dr. David Sinclair. So for those of you that don't know who he is, he's a very famous Australian doctor who is a head researcher at Harvard University. That's quite a resume. And he's discovered the use of resveratrol in longevity and now NMN and NAD. So he's probably the biggest hitter in the world. So do you have any news about that heavy hitter?
Yeah, he's a real pioneer.
He is the
for
pioneer.
Longevity.
He really is.
He's kind of, we all look to him.
We all look to him.
And
we look at him aging backwards as we look at him.
Incredible.
He's looking crazy.
He's so awesome. Yeah, so we discussed recently that he had actually stepped down from one of his positions. So he resigned from his position as a president of the Academy of Health and Lifespan Research. That was after the bit of drama that we talked about the other week.
If you need to hear about that, watch episode...
Go back and have a listen.
1?
Yeah.
I think it was in 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not sure. So I thought I'd have a look and see sort of what he was doing after his resignation from that position.
The controversy, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's been doing a few Instagram lives with his wife and sharing a whole heap of wisdom about longevity and the lifestyle and things that you can do to expand your health span or your lifespan. And I just thought that was really cool because I think that, you know, it's all good for us. You know, we're interested in it and it's fun and we like the research and learning all about it. But there's people that really need this information out there. So,
right, okay.
Yeah, I thought that little bit of altruism and just sharing it all for free on Instagram lives with his wife was super cool.
What a legend. Well, you know, I've already learned so much without those lives. I think he just does it in general, just loves to share the knowledge.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the fame or the money. He just loves to share. And I think that's why he's got the fame. And I'm not sure if he's wealthy, but he might have the money too.
But I mean, it just sounds like he's like a really good guy.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Good
obviously still passionate about the space, even though he's been shunned a little bit recently.
Yeah,
yeah. They're talking on their Instagram lives about longevity, fasting, hydration, gut health supplements, which I thought was really cool, and matcha green tea. So green tea just keeps coming up and up again. So I think we'll have to get you to fill us in on that in a future episode.
We'll talk about that in a future episode. Yeah. Do you like matcha green tea, Fiona?
No.
No, not that much. I like it. I think it's great.
But, you know, I think I could learn to like it. We were in Japan recently and we had that half chocolate, half matcha green tea ice cream. And I liked that.
Yeah, when you combine it with chocolate, I think it would make
and
anything
make it into
taste
ice
good.
cream.
Make it in ice cream and
I
then
could
the
enjoy
matcha.
it. I could enjoy
Okay.
it. Yeah, where was I now? I did have some notes written down for this. Let me just gather my thoughts. So we've touched on it briefly before, and they were talking a lot about hormetic stresses, cold plunges, saunas, and HIIT, all of which can trigger a process called autophagy, which basically helps to clean out dormant, dying, dead, nasty cells in the body. And the hormetic stresses can also help to create cell resilience. So it's not just getting rid of dead cells, it's actually making the healthy cells stronger, which I thought was really cool. Now, they spoke specifically about HIIT training as a hormetic stressor. And I wanted to get your thoughts as to sort of how HIIT training and low intensity steady state or LIST training, how they compare, what's the difference between them?
So HIIT training stands for high intensity interval training. And as opposed to that long steady state, say cardio, where you just go on a long run for half an hour, put the body sort of under that lower constant stress, HIIT has high energy, high exertion bursts where the heart rate will go up high. So we're talking, above that 90% threshold. And then come back down to usually under that 70 to say 65%, and then you can send it back up again. So we can do this through heavy weights, although typically that won't get the heart rate too high. We can do it through sprint training, where
That's
we
your
put
favorite?
in the effort, say for a good 10 seconds, and then actually wait as long as you need for that heart rate to come back down again. You can do it on the rower. You can do it on the bike. If you're doing it on the bike, you want to really feel that burn in the legs. It has to hurt, and that is HIIT training.
Yep.
And the body seems to go into this amazing autophagy stage where it says, look, we're getting under a lot of stress here, not just a low level of stress where we could probably maintain that steady state run. The body says it's not too stressful, so we don't necessarily need to adapt too much. We might improve our cardiovascular system a little bit.
Yeah.
We might tone a little bit of muscle tissue, etc. But it wasn't that hard. The HIIT, the exertion, the body says, wow, that was tough. We need to clear out the bad stuff. We need to clear out bad proteins from cells, organelles, etc. and reinforce and make what we've got stronger. So the next time that we undergo that HIIT session, we're better prepared. So
you are exactly right. And
HIIT seems to be where it's at.
Yeah, so HIIT seems to be where it's at for longevity, because exactly what you were saying, the body goes, right, I need to be stronger for this, I need to be prepared, and it actually triggers a release of HGH, which is our human growth hormone, and that's why they're saying that it's so good for longevity.
Yeah, so human growth hormone will multiply cells where it's needed. So create more cells to heal and create superior, stronger cells as well. So really good to get that natural HGH release. So I like to practice this, 3 times a week. I'll do a bit of steady state cardio.
Yep.
So I'll go for a 12, 15 minute run.
But that's still amazing for cardiovascular and muscular health, which is so important as we age.
Exactly. So it's still a great thing. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, look, get your heart healthy by doing some, because that will lead to the ability to do more HIIT training.
Yeah.
So, and for me, as you're aware, we're quite busy. So I need to habit stack. So I'll go on the steady state cardio run as a warm up to the gym, where I'll then stack and do HIIT training on weights to really push heavy and hard. And then I'll sprint home in intervals. So I will sprint, then walk, then sprint, then walk. So adding and stacking all these together, and not getting finished there because I know I'm so time poor, I'll then go and kneel on a hard floor in the shower just to build resilience, because it's really painful on the knees.
Cold shower?
And have a cold shower.
Yeah.
While I'm doing Wim Hof breathing. So, by stacking all these things and helping release that natural human growth hormone and engage autophagy in the body, because I'm 42 now, I'm hoping to sort of prolong that longevity by doing all the right things like HIIT training, cardiovascular training, cold therapy, all in the one hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, we always call you Paul maximum effort wigger.
That's true. Got to always put the max
Do
effort
the
in all the
most.
time.
Do the most.
Maybe it's not good all the time, but I can't help myself.
But you did say that you're only doing it 3 times a week. So you're training 3 times a week. And I know in the past, and a lot of people are like, you need to train 5 to 6 times a week to see results. You've done both. You've done 5 to 6 times a week. Now you're doing 3 times a week. How is it comparing for you results wise? Feel like physically, I guess.
Well, it's like a candle burning brighter, in a sense. So when I was training 4 or 5 days a week and really heavy, lots of protein, etc., I got bigger. So the body said, look, you need to adapt. You'll get bigger, you'll get stronger, you'll put on more muscle. However, there's a risk of training that often, that hard, that you're burning the candle bright. And if we're looking at longevity, there seems to be this really nice sort of position where training 2 to 3 times per week is enough to get that HIIT training, that stress on the body, get that human growth hormone kicking in without it taxing the body too much. And so you see bodybuilders, sure, they might be taking, performance enhancing drugs, etc. But typically those guys, the big, strong guys that lift weights and put on a lot of muscle, they don't have long lifespans.
They burn bright and die.
They burn bright and they burn out. So it's about maintaining that equilibrium for me personally, where fit, healthy, strong, but not too much overtraining, and finding that balance to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Dr. David Sinclair was saying in his Instagram live with his wife. So maybe you've been watching them.
I haven't actually. Maybe I'm just ahead of my time.
Yeah, but when they're talking about hormetic stresses, they're really emphasizing the fact that it is mild stress. It's not an extreme stress, and it's finding that because I think when you go extreme stress, you start damaging cells. So it's mild stress that forces the body to build healthier, more resilient cells and get rid of unhealthy, broken, dormant cells.
And I think we need to sort of clarify mild stress. It can still be extreme in the sense that, step in a cold plunge pool at 0 degrees for 5 minutes. That seems extreme. So we're not saying that's not hard, but that is a mild stress. An extreme stress would be to say do it for 15, 20 minutes. The body, that would hurt the body.
Yeah, or if it's bordering like chronic stress, where it's over a really long period of time.
Or running ultra marathons, etc. So look,
perfect example.
They're enjoying themselves, and there's still a lot of benefit to that. But you run an ultra marathon every week, the body will break down. So doing the right amount, as you mentioned, mild stress, not saying that a hot sauna isn't hard or a cold plunge isn't really cold, but doing it the right amount of time can be that mild enough but severe enough hormetic stress to get the positive results.
Do you think that stress varies from person to person? Because, you look at someone like David Goggins and he can do ultra marathons week after week, he's done it. But do you think hormetic stress and mild stress, extreme stress varies from person to person as we get more resilient?
Everyone will have different genetic potentials and different genetic makeup. So it has to vary from person to person.
Yeah.
But really you need to go on studies and you need to see what a double-blind placebo controlled study will spit out for a length of, how long do you need to do a cold bath at 5 degrees for it to be beneficial?
Yeah, or like we're looking at the other week, 4 saunas a week kind of thing.
That's right. So if someone was to spend 6 hours in the sauna at 85 plus degrees
extreme stress
every single day, that's extreme stress. That's not going to benefit you, right? I saw something quite funny the other day which explained the Titanic, which is kind of a bit of a sad thing, but the joke, I don't know if 100 years is long enough to now be able to
Go on.
Basically, they said that the first 5 minutes that the people were in the water, they were super, super healthy.
Oh my God.
But then as you can see, eventually it's not going to end up well. So that's sort of an analogy that, hey, look, everyone on the Titanic that was in that freezing water was really healthy for 5 minutes. And then, I don't know, is that too harsh?
I've got so many things I could say right now, but I think that's great.
Maybe just get the message on that one. And
We'll wrap that one up there.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, Paul, supplement buzzword of the moment, Spermidine. Are you ready to fill us in 1 minute on what it is, what it does, and whether we should be taking it?
So it is a bit of a buzzword at the moment in supplements. People are talking about Spermidine. Weird name, unfortunate name. So it got its name and its precursor, which is spermine, because, as I think I mentioned at the start, they first found it in crystals in male semen in the 1700s. And so they identified it and called it spermine and spermidine. You'll find this ingredient naturally in a lot of foods. So it's really high in wheat germ. And people have been taking wheat germ for a long time for health without knowing that it contains spermidine. But they're finding that it's really high in wheat germ.
Where would you buy wheat germ?
When we used to own health food stores, we had it in bulk.
Yeah.
So you can just find it at weigh and pay places.
Bulk,
wheat
loose
germ.
produce. Yeah, cool.
So you'll also find it in seeds like aromanth, that's high in aromanth seeds, cruciferous vegetables. Broccoli has a good amount of spermidine as well.
Broccoli is so good for you.
It's so many things. It's, spermidine, indole carbinol, sulforaphane, brassica. It's so good.
The problem is I only enjoy it when it's covered in butter.
Yeah, well, hey, all natural organic butter is not a bad thing either, but we can talk about that another time.
Sorry.
And there's a whole lot of other foods that it naturally occurs in. So if you can all you need to do is Google, look at the group of foods, and then try and eat more of those to get spermidine. You can take it orally, however, and a lot of supplements, or even just supplement with just spermidine in, is hitting the market, and for good reason. It's a great ingredient, and it's really well orally absorbed. So it's one of those things you can absorb, and it will translate to absorption into the body. Now, there's a lot of things that it helps with longevity. They're talking about activating sirtuins, although there's not a lot of research on that. That still needs more research.
Cool.
Sirtuins being our hero enzymes that protect, and when fueled with NAD, can regrow DNA. So the blueprint of cells, our architectural and mechanical plans for cells, which is DNA. And if we can regrow that, we can age backwards. We can tell the cells how they were when we were 20, for example. And if you're over 20, that means a lot. If you're under 20, that doesn't mean a lot. But yeah, so that needs more research with spermidine. It can protect telomeres, which is the end of DNA. So instead of the telomeres degrading and losing data, it will protect their integrity and health, and at least hold the data of the chromosomes in DNA. Not necessarily grow them, but hold the data. What we do know spermidine causes is autophagy, and we've been talking about this earlier today. And spermidine has been shown to increase lifespan of yeast cells, of nematodes, and other smaller forms of life by 10%. And the studies point to the fact that it causes this autophagy. So we think that is probably the property of spermidine that is causing this longevity effect, is that autophagy engagement in the body. Autophagy is, as we've mentioned before in this episode, the body having stress and saying, look, we need to clean up house. We need to get rid of the old organelles and then sweep out bad proteins from cells and get rid of the dead wood. And while we're at it, we will fortify the good things in the body as well. So I know
it's like your body's spring clean.
It's a spring clean. It's making the good things better. It's getting rid of the bad things, and that is very healing to the body and can create an environment where the body will now live longer. You've got less bad things that can cause death. It's been shown, and this is drug companies are investigating this for cancer, for Alzheimer's disease, because of this effect, that it can clear out bad and damaged cells. So again, more research needs to go on to make claim about those things, but they are looking into it for those topics. So that is one of the major reasons why. And it does a lot of other things, but we've only got a minute. So we just want to dial in on the major study thing that we know, and we're pretty sure this is what's causing the longevity effect, is the autophagy stimulation from and by spermidine.
So we mentioned marathons earlier. And we've come to the final section of the podcast for today. And I want to speak
I love
about
this section.
the oldest person to ever finish a marathon.
Right. And that was unplanned. And I said marathon. I had no clue this was coming.
Yeah,
All right,
I mean,
I'm excited.
it wasn't an ultra marathon, but it was a marathon. And her name is Gladys Burrell. Do you want to have a guess at how old she was when she finished her marathon?
So I would have thought to have said 60s to do this, but the
Definitely
name
older than that.
Gladys, no, that points me to a lot older. So Gladys, geez, okay, so it's 2024 now. Gladys, was she 93?
You're so close. She was 92.
92, okay, yeah. I was
That
thinking.
was such a good guess.
Well,
Did you do
Gladys
that?
was a popular name in the 30s, so
I gave it away. What would have been your guess if I didn't give away the name?
I would have thought 60s.
60s, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that, I mean, if you can run a marathon in your 60s, you're killing it, right?
92. Now, I love my stats. Do you have a time for us?
So for the marathon that she ran when she was 92, it took her just under 10 hours, 9 hours, 53 minutes.
Okay, all right. So, she's not running the whole way, but that's a long time to put in an effort.
Yeah, even just to
Yeah.
cover that distance at the age of 92. Isn't that incredible?
Amazing.
Yeah. She passed away recently when she was 100. She passed away in 2019.
Yeah, she got the letter from the Queen.
Oh, she might have just got it if the Queen sent it right on time.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, she grew up in poverty, and I just love her story. She had a mega CV. She was a pilot, she was a hiker, she was a horseback rider, and then she eventually became a marathon runner.
And whereabouts did she live?
So the marathons that she ran was in Honolulu. So I'm wondering if she grew up in Hawaii or maybe she grew up in the States.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think she grew up in America.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And her family had some really beautiful quotes, and she had some really beautiful quotes about her life. Her family said that she was just full of love, and she would give hugs out to anybody who would give her the time. Just really loved a good yarn. Just sounds like the sweetest old lady you've ever met.
Maybe she could have sped up her time a little bit.
If she wasn't so busy
if she
talking.
wasn't so busy hugging
Yeah, hugging
during
and
the
talking.
marathon.
And she obviously, I think when you get to a certain age, you start getting a lot of questions of like, oh, how do you stay young? And so when she was asked on how does she stay youthful, she said, eat healthfully and exercise. So many young people just don't realize the importance of exercise. Just put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, we'll do that long enough and you've run a marathon.
Yeah, well, that's it. She really, really loved it. And then the other advice that she gave was it's so important to think positive. It's easy to get discouraged and be negative. It makes such a difference on how you feel and your outlook on everything.
All right, so I'll have a positive outlook today at work.
Yeah.
It's my plan after hearing that.
Yeah. But to be honest, I think both of those pieces of advice come together. Like it's definitely something that I've noticed recently is like when you move, when you run, when you walk, whatever your movement of choice is, I find that it just makes your mindset so much more positive and clear-headed, right?
That's right. If you're having a bad day, you might have someone say, look, go for a run, go for a gym session, usually come back feeling great.
Yeah, I remember when I was little, my, mum and dad used to say that all the time. It was like we were cyclists back in the day, and it was like if I was being a grump or, stressing out with school, exams, that kind of thing, it was like, right, get on your bike, off you go, and then I'd come back just a different person.
You feel great. The gremlin's gone.
Yeah, get the gremlins out.
So exercise, eat well, and have a positive outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple
amazing.
advice.
Simple advice. Great advice.
From Gladys. And yeah,
Well done, Gladys.
what a beautiful life and what an amazing achievement. 92.
92, yeah. She lived another 8 years after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if she ran any half marathons in between that time.
I'm not too sure, but she did she completed 5 Honolulu marathons. So it wasn't like she did it once when she was 92. This was something that she was passionate about and pursued.
Amazing. Oh, what a great story.
Yeah. Paul, thank you so much for joining me for another podcast.
Always a pleasure. Enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah, and thank you so much to our listeners for listening to the Age Hack podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to check out the Age Hack online. And if you want to see more podcasts behind the scenes and snippets, you can check us out on Instagram at the agehack_pod. We'll be sharing stuff there. Feel free to send us a DM if you like the episode or if you have any questions. And next episode, we are going to be talking about what in the world crazy shit Brian Johnson has going on at the moment.
Is it even more crazy than usual?
I think it'll blow your mind.
I'm excited. All right. We'll see you then.
See you next episode.
Be exciting.